Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Olayinka Abosede Ojo, and I am the lecturer for homeostasis. I'm so elated, I'm so happy to be here today, and I'm so glad that you are here as well. Yes, so today's topic is on homeostasis. Now, what is homeostasis? What is the significance of homeostasis, and how does it relate with animals and human subjects? Yes, let's dive straight in. Animals can only survive if the environment within their bodies and their cells are kept constant, irrespective of the changing conditions in the external environment. Now, in different parts of the world, we have different ranges in temperature. We have some less than 0 degrees centigrade, some as high as 40 degrees centigrade. All these changes happens everywhere, especially due to this climate change situation. But a situation whereby animals still maintains a constant body mechanism independent of the changes in the environment or the external environment is known as homeostasis. What did I call it? Homeostasis. Now, the body needs to achieve a stability of the internal environment, and this can be achieved by monitoring the internal conditions such that when it deviates from the normal, it begins to initiate processes that brings it back to the normal. This processes or this control is known as feedback control. What did I call it? Feedback control. Now, homeostasis can easily be understood by these figures. Now, the first figure shows homeostasis such that there will be in homeostatic condition or in a situation whereby there's a need to explain homeostasis in a layman's language. Now, there will be a sensor, that is a part of the body that detects the imbalance. Now, this imbalance is now processed by the control center, and we know that the brain is the control center of the body, and this control center now produces a response. The control center now sends signals to the effector to produce a response, which now sends it to another part of the body, which helps to restore the balance. Now, this makes it a complete cycle. Now, here and figure 2 is showing we have a hike in body temperature, which is detected by nerve receptors, and then the brain picks it up, tries to, and then sends message to the muscles, which helps to correct the imbalance, and this makes it a complete homeostatic mechanism or cycle. Now, in order to maintain a constant body temperature, the hypothalamus, we call hypothalamus the thermostat. It is noted to, situated at the base of the brain. The hypothalamus is a peer structure, and it functions as the brain's smart control center, and as the body's internal regulator, because it helps to maintain homeostasis by controlling the essential processes like the temperature, the appetite, the taste, the sleep cycles, and so on and so forth. The list continues. And it also helps to accomplish this by sensing an internal and external conditions, which it now influences other endocrine and autonomic systems through various chemical signals. We call it hormones, and then nerve impulses to maintain a stable internal environment. Now, this process involved in the control of all these aspects. So, for the purpose of this class, I will only talk about the body temperature control, the water balance, the blood loss, then the acid-base balance, which is summarized below. Now, these figures are showing the position of the hypothalamus in the brain as well as the surrounding parts of the brain. Now, here we have the hypothalamus, which is known to be at the base of the brain, colored in blue. Then we have here, it is colored in green. It is very close to the midbrain and the pons, as well as the pituitary gland, which is also known as the master gland. Now, for the temperature control, as said earlier. Now, we have different biochemical and biophysical processes in the cells, which are very, very sensitive to temperature or to changes in temperature. Now, in mammals, the optimum temperature is 37 degrees centigrade, which is also known as 99 Fahrenheit. And in the birds, we have up to 40 degrees centigrade, which is their optimum temperature. That is the temperature that they perform best. That is their homeostatic temperature. Any deviation from these temperatures will trigger homeostatic mechanisms. Now, biological processes in the cells, particularly in muscle and the liver, produces it. All the digestion, all the transport of blood from part one part or the other, and so on and so forth. All this generates heat, and this causes the core heat temperature to be very, very high. Now, this heat is now distributed through the body by the blood and is lost mainly through the skin surface. So this is one of the mechanisms of homeostasis, that is temperature control. This heat generated at the core part of the body is being transported by the blood. As the blood flows through the body, it carries the heat, and then when the vessels that come in contact with the surface of the skin or the skin surface, it quickly releases this heat, and therefore this causes a reduction in the buildup of temperature in the body. Now, the production of this heat through the skin is controlled by the hypothalamus in the brain, which also acts as a thermostat on the electric heater. Majority of us have iron in the houses. This iron, has a light that normally comes up. When you're ironing, for example, a particular cloth, maybe cotton or nylon, there is an optimum temperature for cotton or nylon. When this iron is being used and the temperature that of rising of that particular iron at that particular time, it seems to exceed the temperature of the material that you have set it to, it triggers a sound, and the light goes off and the temperature goes down, cools down. When the temperature of the iron cools down be too low to the material, the optimum temperature to iron the material properly, if the light comes up, there's a sound, and the light comes up again, and the temperature keeps increasing. This mechanism, which occurs in, for example, iron in one of our home appliances, is example iron, is also related to the hypothalamus. It acts like a thermostat that helps to regulate the body functions. Now, when the body temperature rises above the optimum, then there is a decrease in temperature mechanism that is triggered. One of it is sweating and panting. When this occurs, and there's evaporation, it brings cooling effect. So when the cooling effect occurs, then it literally reduces the body temperature. Another one is expansion of the blood vessels near the skin surface so that heat is lost to the air quickly. Now, we said earlier that heat generated from the metabolic activities of the body are carried by the blood vessels to every part of the body, and especially to the surface of the skin, which enhances a loss of this heat to the environment. Now, when there is high temperature, as said just now, the blood vessels seem to expand so that there will be loss of heat, carried by the blood quickly to the surface. Now, another one is reduction in the muscle exertion to the minimum. Now, muscle exertion has to do with the activities of the muscles, which is actually uh, under conscious control. This is reduced to the minimum so that it will reduce the temperature being generated. And when the body temperature also falls below the normal, this is the other flip of temperature control. When the temperature is lower than the optimum, there is an increase in temperature, which is achieved by number one, moving to the heat source. The human subject or animal recognizes this and then tends to senses a need to move to the heat source or on the heater in part of the world that has very low temperature, or when the rain is falling, it tends to go to a shade or out of the wind. So even in birds, during brooding, they also tend to move towards the heat source or move away from the heat source. All these are under the conscious control of the hypothalamus. And then the increasing muscle activity such as rubbing of hands together, or the trying to rub the skin during goosebump pimples during the cold weather, or as well as another one is also shivering. The shivering is an involuntary control, involuntary action. All this also helps to generate heat, which brings the body temperature to the optimum. Another one is making the hair to stand on end by contraction of the ear erector muscles or fluffing of the feather so that there's an insulation part. Now, in human or in other animals, like especially mammals, the hair stand on end. They contract, the ear erector muscles contract and makes the hair to stand on end. Even in birds, the feathers kind of fluff together to create an insulating layer to reduce heat loss to the environment. And also we have the constriction of the blood vessels near the body so that heat, that is a little bit of shrinking or of the blood vessels so that reduced heat is lost to the environment. Now we also have uh, water balance. Water balance. How does the body maintain water balance? Now, the concentration of the blood vessels remain relatively constant irrespective of the diet or the quantity of water taken by the animal or the human subject. I hope you are following. Yes, this is very interesting because it's relatable to humans and animal alike. Now, water is lost from the body by many routes. Part of it, or majorly, controlled by the kidney. Now, the hypothalamus also takes part in this because it helps to maintain or monitor the concentration of the blood and initiates the release of hormones from the posterior pituitary gland, such as we have the aldosterone, we have the anterior uh, pituitary, also here we have the aldosterone and antidiuretic hormone. This acts on the kidney tubules to influence the amount of water and sodium ions which will be absorbed from the distal and proximal tubules of the nephron. Now, these figures 4 and 5 shows the part and functions of the kidney. Here we have the parts which majorly contains the nephron, and here we have the functions of the kidney. We have the urethra where the urine passes. We have the renal artery where unfiltered blood passes. Now we have, this is the group capillaries, and we have the glomerulus. The glomerulus, and this is the Bowman's capsule, although not listed here. We have the glomerulus, which receives the unfiltered blood and also helps to enhance the pressure and removal of the toxic substances and waste from the blood. Now, the function of the kidney, we have the removal of waste products. It also helps to remove excess fluid. It helps to balance minerals and chemicals. It controls the blood pressure. The red blood cell production is also enhanced by the kidney, and it also helps to maintain healthy bones. Now, water balance mechanism, that is how does the body helps to maintain water balance. Now we have two sides. We are when the water is very high, concentration of the body fluid is high, or when the body fluid is very low. Now, when the body fluid becomes too concentrated and too high, we have mechanism to enhance uh, water retention in the body can be achieved by one, an increase in the production of antidiuretic hormone from the posterior pituitary gland, which helps to reabsorb water from the kidney nephrons. Now, antidiuretic hormone is produced by the posterior pituitary gland, and it helps, its work is it stimulates the proximal and distal tubule of the kidney to reabsorb water from the kidney. So this helps to reduce the body fluid. Then there's another one, a decrease in the blood pressure in the glomerulus of the kidney, which helps to reduce or the fluid by filtering through the kidney tubule so that less urine is produced. Now we have, this figure shows the part of the nephron. We have, as spoken earlier, we have the part of the nephron, we have the filtered blood, which is shown by the blue colored artery. We have the unfiltered blood shown by the red. Then here we have the nephron showing the distal and the proximal tubule. We have the filtered blood, unfiltered blood. So we have this is the Bowman's capsule, I said earlier. This is the glomerulus. We have the proximal tubule. We have the loop of Henle, and we have the distal tubule as well as the collecting duct. Now, what are the functions of these parts? Now, at the proximal convoluted tubule, we have reabsorption of ions occurs there. Water and nutrients are also reabsorbed. Then removal of toxins and adjustment to the pH filtrate is also done here. Then at the glomerulus, we have activities such as filtration of small solids from the blood that is help to remove wastes from the blood. Then at the distal tubule, we have selective secretion and absorption of different ions such as sodium, to maintain blood pH and electrolyte balance. The collecting duct helps to absorb or reabsorb solids and water from the filtrates. Now, how does the body maintains water balance? When the body fluid become too dilute, hmm, that is very high, and the osmotic pressure too is very low, water loss in the urine can be achieved by one, a decrease in the secretion of the antidiuretic hormone so that less water is reabsorbed from the kidney tubules and more diluted urine is produced. Earlier, it was said that antidiuretic hormone is produced, an hormone produced by the posterior pituitary gland, which helps to reabsorb, enhance a reabsorption or stimulates reabsorption of water from the kidney. Now, there will be a decrease. There will be a decrease in this secretion so that less water is reabsorbed from the kidney and more diluted urine is produced. Now, when there is also an increase in the blood pressure and in the glomerulus causes more fluid to be filtered into the blood kidney tubule and more urine is produced. Now, we also have an increase in the sweating or panting that also helps to increase the amount of water lost to the environment. Now, how does the body maintain the blood fluid or volume after moderate blood loss? When there is a moderate blood loss, or body fluid, when blood is lost, body fluid also is lost to a good extent. Now, this body fluid this effect leads to a decrease in the blood volume and decrease in blood pressure. Now, this result causes an insufficient supply of oxygen and nutrient to the cells. When there is an insufficient supply of oxygen, it causes hypoxia, and this can cause death of the animal or human subject. So now the nutrients also, the supply to the cells will also reduce, and this can cause a fatal issue. An example is death. So cells of the brain are particularly very, very vulnerable. This condition is known as a shock. This causes a shock. Now, if the blood loss is not too extreme, there are various mechanisms that comes into play to compensate and ensure a permanent tissue damage does not occur. This mechanism is as follows. Number one, we have increased test and drinking, which increases the blood volume. Number one. Number two, there will be blood vessels in the skin and the kidneys constrict, that is shrink, to reduce the total volume of the blood system and hence helps to retain the blood pressure. Number three, heart rate increases, which helps to increase blood pressure. Number four, antidiuretic hormone is released by the posterior pituitary gland, and this increases water reabsorption in the collecting duct of the kidney tubules so that concentrated urine is produced and water loss is reduced. Now we also have maintenance of blood volume. Now, blood volume balance. Loss of fluid causes an increase in osmotic pressure of the blood. Now, proteins, majorly albumin, released into the blood by the liver further increases the osmotic pressure, causing the fluid from the tissue to be drawn into the blood by osmosis, which increases the blood volume. Aldosterone, as said earlier, also secreted by the adrenal cortex, increases the absorption of sodium ions and water from the kidney tubules. This also helps to increase urine concentration and helps retain blood volume. Now, if the blood fluid loss is extreme and the blood volume falls by about 15 to 25%, the above mechanisms are unable to compensate and the condition of the animal will progressively deteriorate. This can cause death of the animal. Now, acid-base balance. Biochemical reactions within the body are very sensitive to even small changes in acidity or alkalinity of the body, of the blood. And any departure from the narrow limit disrupts the normal function of the blood, of the cells. It is therefore very important to maintain the acid-base balance. The normal pH ranges between 7.35 to 7.45, and when there are deviations from this, it causes serious issues. Now, how does the body maintain this acid-base balance? Number one, breathing. Now, much of the carbon dioxide produced by respiration in cells is carried by the blood as carbonic acid. We breathe in oxygen, we breathe out carbon dioxide. In situations whereby carbon dioxide is kind of retained in the body, or probably two people or animals are too closely clustered, such that as one is breathing in carbon dioxide, another one is taking in the carbon dioxide. It can cause an increase in the carbonic acid in the blood, leading to acidosis. Now, as the amount of carbon dioxide in the blood increases, the body becomes more acidic and the pH decreases. Now, this is called acidosis, as said earlier, and this can cause coma or death. On the other hand, alkalosis can be caused by hyperventilation, overstimulation of the nervous system, and when this occurs, this can cause convulsion or death. Now, when vigorous activities, generate large quantities of carbon dioxide, it causes blood to become too acidic, and it can be countered in two ways. Number one, by rapid removal of carbon dioxide from the blood by deep panting breath. Then, is secretion of hydrogen ion into the urine by the kidney tubules. Now, when overbreathing or hyperventilation results in low levels of carbon dioxide in the blood, and the blood is too alkaline, it is corrected by number one, a slower rate of breathing. Number two, a reduction in the amount of hydrogen ions secreted into the urine. Now, as a way of summary, homeostasis is the maintenance of constant condition within the cell or animal despite the changes in the external environment. I hope you remember that. Now, how does the body maintain homeostasis? During heat regulation mechanism, number one, seeking out warm areas, adjusting activity levels, blood vessels, on the surface, then contraction of the rectal muscles so that hairs and feathers stand up to form an insulation layer. Then we have shivering, we have sweating and panting in dogs. For the water balance, the summary is animals maintain water balance by number one, adjusting levels of antidiuretic hormone, adjusting levels of aldosterone, adjusting blood flow to the kidney, adjusting the amount of water lost through the sweating and panting. Then animals also maintain blood volume after moderate body loss by number one, drinking water, constriction of blood vessels in the skin and kidney, increasing heart rate, secretion of antidiuretic hormone, secretion of aldosterone, then drawing fluid from the tissue into the blood by increasing osmotic pressure of the blood. Then lastly, how to maintain the acid-base balance. Animals maintain this by adjusting the rate of breathing and hence the amount of carbon dioxide removed from the blood. And lastly, adjusting the secretion of hydrogen ions into the urine. I hope you understand this class, and I'm very, very sure you will be able to test yourself with these few questions. One of it is, what is homeostasis? Who can tell me what is homeostasis? Yes, another one. Give two examples of homeostasis. Another one, list three ways in which animals keep their body temperature constant when the weather is hot. How does the kidney compensate when an animal is deprived of water to drink? After moderate blood loss, several mechanisms come into play to increase the blood pressure and make up blood volume. Three of these mechanisms are, mention them. Then lastly, describe how panting helps to reduce the acidity of the blood. Yes, I will leave you with these questions. Please practice, answer any one of these questions in the comments below, and also give me a very extensive answer to this question in your write-up and submit when next we meet. I so much appreciate you for your time. Thank you so much for being here, and hope to see you next time. Thank you.